Hello everyone, good evening or good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of the I'll Try That podcast. It's me, it's Barbs. Joining me this week are Richard Drabwell.
Hello, hello.
And Joseph Druitt.
Hello.
Thank you again for joining us, always a pleasure. Tonight, Matthew, hang on, that should be someone else saying that. Tonight we are kicking back in Kenya with Tusker. Pale lager, self-appointed of the finest quality. Come with us down to Kenya. We're going to get into that, our pursuit of hoppiness a little bit later on. But to kick us off, as always, with a hop topic, this time I'm passing to Mr. Drabwell. Rich, hit me.
Yes. Okay. Well, when I next see you, I'll give you a good punch.
Decent.
You literally asked him for it.
Yeah. Well, I'm taking it. So what is the big sporting event that's coming up?
I know.
All right, Mr. Barber.
Rugby World Cup.
Rugby.
It's a happening.
Happening.
I've got the fever.
You've got the fever.
I've been watching so many games over this last week. It started on Friday. We're recording on the Sunday. I've watched a lot of rugby this weekend. It's been lovely.
Well, I come with a bit of news about the recent game, England versus France. Am I correct? I know nothing of what's happening in the World Cup apart from this.
England didn't play France.
No? Cool.
Well researched, though, to be fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
it's all written in front of you what that game was.
It says England fans fury at Rugby World Cup venues. Sorry,
yeah,
there we go.
This Rugby World Cup this year is in France.
In France, there we go. Well, that's I'm the one who knows nought about sport.
That's fair.
It's all fun.
And reading off the screen, apparently.
Where's my dyslexia?
Oh, damn, sorry, Rich.
But we have the England fans are all up in all anger because of a beer-related incident. Basically, a lot of the venues ran out of beer halfway through the game.
Oh, that's unacceptable. Unacceptable.
I'm going to show off and say I know who the official beer partner of the Rugby World Cup is. Does anyone else know this?
Is it Diageo?
I think more specific. I think they're Diageo. I can't. No, not Guinness. I can't remember if they are Diageo or the other one now. But I know that there is a particular beer which we have covered on the podcast.
I'm sure we have. Is it not? Is it Stella?
No, think less European.
Asahi.
Bam! Got it on several.
No, they are not part of Diageo. They are part of the
No.
No. They are their own Asahi group. What are they called? Carry on.
Kirin Ichiban?
No.
No, I knew it was something like that. Whatever it may be. I've forgotten. Anyway.
It's Asahi Group Holdings. They are the group holding company called,
There you go.
There you go. They're the ones who own like a load of breweries in the UK now, like the London-based brewery Fuller's. They own them.
Yeah.
We've covered quite a few Asahi brewery group holding breweries.
Yeah. But was that the story then, Drab?
While I was reading, so it kind of all started, it didn't start off great because there have been massive queues to get into the stadiums just due to poor organisation, allowing people struggling to get in. Once inside, people were then queuing up for food and beverages and beer. One comment was, I queued at 3 different stations for over an hour and didn't get a beer at any of them.
Oh my word.
But I was reading the article says from Marseille to Paris, there has been a lack of beer the whole way through. Every single game. So it's not just one event. They've just really gone, well, we're just not going to bring enough beer. I'm assuming there's loads of wine, but
I don't know. If I'm quite honest, I think it's because it's so hot right now in France, as we're finding across most of Europe, and also you've invited quite a beer-hungry crowd to your country. I think football fans get a bit of a reputation, but my God, can rugby supporters put it away?
Legit. I have a couple of things to mention on this topic. So word on the street, and actually not in strictly a beer sense, but the word on the street is that this whole event, the World Cup, is a warm-up for France because they got the Olympics next year. And the word on the street is they are not ready for the Olympics at all. And they say it's not going to go very well. And as you just said, a lot of the stuff is not sort of working at the moment. However,
It's because they keep rioting.
well, there have been issues, of course.
Did you see that Macron gave the opening speech at the World Cup and he got booed by the stadium?
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
So there is a bit of anticipation that a good French team can actually bring the nation together because they're not very happy at the moment.
They're not happy. The French supporters and the French country don't seem to be vibing right now. Let's put it that way. So I think the fact that they've got a lack of beer is a bit of a lightning rod because they should sort that out.
Yeah,
but actually, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world because let's face it, that pretty good, but also quite scary when you break it down statistic that there was no when the recent football World Cup that was held in which country, Middle Eastern country was it?
Qatar.
Qatar, thank you.
Qatar, is it? Yeah.
And it was a totally dry event. There was no beer. And it is the first and only major sporting interactions where there's been no UK fans in interactions in trouble with the police, and I think that's quite a sad statistic if I'm quite honest.
Yes.
I'd heard some of the England football fans. It's often not the beer that's the problem. Although I want to bring back to the Rugby World Cup and the beer. Yeah. I saw a friend Phil over the weekend, who is a listener to the podcast at least on occasion.
Hi, Phil.
Hi, Phil.
Classic.
So I'm just taking our conversation from the weekend and putting it straight into.
I hope you got his clearance for this.
Well, actually, I might let him know. But Phil was at the game on Friday night for France against New Zealand and commented, interestingly, that almost exactly 50% of the beer pumps were. What am I about to say? Asahi.
Super dry.
Zero.
And
as I said, there's obviously, distributors are keen to get the alcohol free out there as well.
Yeah.
So
that's very fair.
I always wonder sometimes if you see the taps of Spirit 50 and 50 is actually what's going on downstairs and what the keg split is like necessarily. But obviously,
that's really smart though. That is really smart, the non-alcoholic thing, because obviously that's the huge thing that plagues sports. Organised sports is the fact that a fan base getting really drunk and then acting out and causing ripple effective issues.
In hot weather as well.
In hot weather, especially right now where it's some of those stadiums were 35 degrees, I think they were saying. That Toasty. Is dehydration. You're going to touch a beer and that's going to just suddenly you've got no beer left. You're gone. So actually that's quite a smart move. So people still feel that they're in the atmosphere and having beer, but actually it's more like, it's just beer watered, basically. It's beer flavored water. You're actually getting something in that's actually going to be beneficial to your body.
I wonder if there's a price difference on it though. I would find that intriguing. Are they serving it at the same price as a normal beer?
Almost certainly, just because of the tax alone must be higher on alcohol. The duty must be higher on
certainly
alcohol.
Buying non-alcoholic in the supermarket, there's no significant savings.
No, yes,
it is about the same. And if you go and buy a mash gang, which are just they're the bee's knees, in the UK when it comes to craft non-alcoholic, it's actually more expensive than some of these other beers that you get out there. But no, I think it's interesting. I mean, maybe are these people who are running out of beer? Is it because they're running out of alcoholic beer, or just beer in general, including non-alcoholic as well? Because if I've got less sympathy if there's non-alcoholic available, and they're just going, well, there's no beer then, is there?
Your non-alcoholic fans are less likely to cause a fuss when it runs out, though. I imagine. At the same time.
Exactly. Yeah, true.
But interesting story. Actually, check us out. We've got a good 10 minutes out of that. Sorry, talking cynically. But okay, so are we ready to talk about Tusker then? In that case,
I can honestly say, and I know nothing of Tusker. This is the first time I've had a Tusker Lager. I didn't even know where it came from and everything about it. I put it to my lips, and this Lager's just gone down so quickly. It's delicious.
Ain't she a beauty?
It's so good.
Me and Joe were having a chat before you came on, and I was telling Joe about my hectic last couple of days in Weymouth. And I had went and got this beer, sat down, took a sip, and when everything kind of just feels right. Once you see all the stars aligned, it was cold, it was refreshing, and I was like, Matt's actually brought us a half decent beer to try.
There's a first time for everything.
There is a first time for everything.
Poor old Orangi Boom. Anyway, well, I'm very glad because I've only had, I think this is possibly only my second or third Tusker or experience with Tusker, and my expectations on your behalves was high. I was really keen to get you to try this. So this is one that a lot of people who've ever done any traveling around Africa, particularly Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, I think this is where it comes from. All right, we can. I did drop the T-bomb, didn't I? the travel thing.
Travel!
Where travelling have you been?
I've actually weirdly not been to those places, but I'm aware of it here as well.
What a safari!
So anyway,
lions and tigers!
I know about travel.
Just leave me with nowhere to go when you pull the silly voice on me. But some friends through work who have travelled travelled. Oh, you put me in a right mess now. Who've travelled Africa extensively. Oh no. Said you've got to have Tusker, basically.
I tell you what.
So do you know what? I'm finished now. You two can talk about it on your own. I'm off to go and drink it in peace
with your friends, your travel friends.
Both of them. Yeah.
So,
you're not my friend.
So, grounding where again, backing up where you're on. So, it's made by the East Africa Brewery, which is owned by Diageo.
Diageo.
So I'm going to pretend that wasn't the case to give it a sort of unique and individual.
Yeah, no, we love to. We love to be. We give the facts here on the I'll Try That podcast. That's what people week in week out they come back to us come in with the facts. So Tusker Lager is owned by the East Africa Breweries, which is part of the Diageo group, and they brew how many hectolitres a year?
700,000.
And I'm going to give you a specific country. It's just in Kenya I want the fact for. So how many hectolitres in Kenya a year do you think that they brew?
Oh, it's got to be at least 4.
It's definitely at least 4.
I think I can probably guess this bang on because we might be looking at the same thing.
All right.
I'm going to pretend I didn't hear Drapper say 100,000 a minute ago.
Oh no, 700,000.
Oh, see, I didn't actually hear him say 100,000 a minute ago. 700,000.
Yeah.
Well done, Matt. You got that right. Spot on.
Thank you. Also,
that is a lot of beer that's being sold just in one country, and so that's not counting everything else that's around the globe and all those other countries you just mentioned there, like Tanzania, etc. And the fact that you can find this in the UK as well. There's a whole website dedicated to Tusker beer in the UK, and it tells you explicitly where to find it and how to get hold of it.
Yeah. I love that person who's ever doing all that research to send it, and they've paid for the domain name and put it up.
Yeah, that's it. And they're keeping it up to date. It was on Amazon. It's now longer not on Amazon. So they've lined out the fact that it was on Amazon now, and they've given a new link of where you can get it.
I love whoever that is. If you're listening to this, please get in contact. We would like to interview you.
I also like it's a no frills website. It is here is the information. Don't expect embedded videos and that sort of thing. It's Tusker beer in the UK. Here's what you need to know. Go and buy it. See you later.
I like that. So where did you get it from, Barbara? Where did you pick it up?
I did. I'm getting mixed up with the two. I used 2 online beer retailers that I found, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the second one, and I don't even know that this was from the one that I can remember. I used Beers of Europe, and they say not just beer and not just Europe. So, slightly misleading name. But I think that's right because obviously this is not a beer from Europe. That's where it came from. So unfortunately, I was not somewhere I could get it in a shop, but I was able to buy it online and get it shipped to me.
Talking of Tusker, does anyone have any facts or information behind their "Together Forever" statements that they have? That they seem to be really
I thought you were going to say.
about?
I thought you were going to say facts about where the name comes from, and
I will. Let's go to that.
So.
But if we don't know where "Together Forever" comes from, I'd love to know that. But we'll definitely want to talk about Tusker the name because obviously that has to do with elephants. Right?
Something to do with Shakira?
So I was reading about its logo, which I'm assuming must be an old one because it said the beer slogan was "My beer, my country."
No. That is still the same thing. So together,
okay.
because I was reading into that as well, I was a bit confused. So Together Forever seems to be like a new like catchphrase that they're like putting with Tusker, But for the longest time, the beer slogan has been beer yangu nchi yangu, which means my beer, my country in Kiswahili.
Mm-hmm.
Kiswahili.
Swahili?
Yeah. I think you just called it Swahili.
Is it Swahili?
Swahili, yeah. Pretty sure.
I've literally never seen the word Swahili written down
right?
before.
We never see it written down.
I know exactly. I know Swahili. I don't know Swahili. I know the word Swahili, but I've never seen it written down before. This is Siapan all over again, honestly.
God. What was that other brewery in Belgium? Louvre or something like that. It just went Louvre for about 15 minutes. But okay. Come on, Rich. We're going to do the Together Forever.
Yeah, tell us Tusker. Go on.
Tell us about the name Tusker.
Bigger and better things now.
Well, no, Barbara, as you're the one who brought it, you can tell us the interesting story.
I want you guys to enjoy it as well. So they started, I believe, I'll tee you up, and it'll be real smooth, just like the beer itself. I think they started brewing in 1922. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah. And who was it brewed by, Richard? Really teasing this out of you now.
It was, brewed in 1920 by Kenya Breweries, now East Africa Breweries. It was, the first batch was delivered to the Stanley Hotel, where it was met with mixed reactions.
Oh,
they obviously weren't hot enough at the time.
Yeah.
Because
or maybe that first batch just wasn't great.
Yeah. But what I think I love most about this beer, not just its smooth, great taste and being enjoyed,
this episode,
yeah. If Tusker wants us to do an advert, they can more than happily to send us some more. But it was more what the beer was named after, which I think is great. It was named after the founder, George Hurst. He was killed in an elephant hunting accident.
Oh, wow.
And in his memory, his brother Charles decided to name the first beer brewed Tusker, which I'm assuming is maybe slang for elephant hunter. Would be my guess.
I figured it
really?
was an elephant that killed him.
Sounds like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It sounds a bit ironic, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's almost like his brother kind of hates him because maybe the elephant on the bottle is the one that got him.
Oh, this is giving a new meaning to Tusker. I thought Tusker was just a fun word for tusk, like elephant, like a heritage. But if it's a name for someone who hunts elephants, that's a bit...
Right there. I'm just Googling it.
Different vibe.
Tusker.
Obviously, don't get me wrong, back in the day, it was seen as it was a thing to do, but now it's definitely not even just frowned upon, it's illegal. So,
no. So a Tusker, what does Tusker mean? Any mammal with prominent tusks, especially an elephant or wild boar. Tuskers used as a noun is very rare. Any mammal with prominent tusks. So boars, anything like that. It's about the elephant. Yeah, not. So technically, still, but we don't know how he actually died. Was it an elephant?
I understood that an elephant got him.
Well, it infers that there's an elephant hunting accident and he got killed by an elephant, but it could also be that he just died on the toilet like Elvis or something. We just don't know. Can I read out the back of the label? Because I think this is quite fascinating.
You may indeed.
So, Tusker, Together Forever. When you open a bottle of Tusker, you are joining the world in celebrating one of Africa's great original beers. Tusker has been brewed with care, craft, and love since 1922. Every crisp, clean mouthful summons up the taste, sunshine, and love of life of its African roots.
Huh. That's nice. Can I quickly just go back to the Tusker thing? Sorry.
That's nice.
That's nice.
Yeah, bro. Cheers, mate. Yeah. Moving on.
George,
I've got something else to say.
I'm going to say more important. George Hurst was trampled by an elephant whilst hunting.
I was going to say. I wanted to say he was actually. Yeah, I was going to say run over. That sounds like the elephant was driving the car that ran him over. But,
he's not in the circus.
I'm sure he didn't find it as funny as we just did. But hey ho, should we talk about it as a beer as well? And actually, I say a beer. So, what I feel like I should say Tusker is, and I think it's proven it a little bit today with us being how hot we are, and thinking this is just the thing to refresh us and cool us down. This is I think the epitome of a sundowner, isn't it? This is and obviously this is what he's used for as well. It's when people going out and do a safari, hopefully dodging the elephants,
enjoying the elephants rather than trying to shoot them.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. But yeah, perfect. End of the day, if you are hot and bothered, it's lovely, smooth, thirst quenching, and just tasty, isn't it? This is a pale
really
lager. If we haven't actually pale lager, I never know if I'm using that in the correct term, the correct sense. But it's that pale, light gold, almost straw coloured, bit of fizz, but very smooth and just well executed, isn't it?
I love the fact that this is 100% African ingredient beer. The fact that the barley is from Savannah of the Masai Mara and the spring waters from the Nyandarua ranges in the Aberdare Mountains, and all the yeast is developed locally. Sorry for butchering all of that, but you get my point that actually this is a very African local beer, which, let's face it, Africa's a continent, so, where specifically, because it's one part of Africa to the other, I would hardly call that local. Massive.
Well, no, so the Masai Mara at least is Kenya, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know about the Aberdare. I thought Aberdare is Scotland, actually.
Especially how I pronounced it as well. Definitely sounded more Scotland.
Okay, I'll have a wee Tusker, shall we? Sorry, my voice is going.
The
as
Aberdare
well,
range is in Kenya as well. So
so sorry. I should have said. I understood it to be strictly Kenyan, but I think gets spread around Africa quite a lot as well.
Yeah.
And Tanzania is obviously nearby, and Uganda as well. I don't think it.
So this is a Kenyan beer. We can safely say it's a Kenyan beer.
Yeah. And as you say, so is East African more so than the others, but I think other parts of Africa enjoy it as well. Obviously, South Africa is just also because I suppose there's a bit more industrialization happened there as well. There's a lot of South African beers, aren't there? And they will spread about a little bit. Because actually, that was the one thing I was thinking about doing, was trying to get some Castle to drink as well. But as I understand, so Tusker itself is very Kenyan, but then it's also, because it's such a good product, it is enjoyed in the kind of whole East African region, shall we say?
Yeah.
I was thinking what I really enjoy about Tusker, and what it brings me a lot of memories back from traveling around Asia and South America, and just having these lighter, refreshing lagers that England, I don't feel has one quite like it, or there's some around, but English lagers and everything just feel a little bit heavier than I would say, especially this one.
Here's me going to play devil's advocate, but throw some names at me when you say an English lager.
Well, there we go. Yeah, Camden Brewery. Is it that there?
Actually, for the record, I love Camden Hells.
Yeah, I'm not saying I think Camden's, but they're also bringing lager back, apparently.
Yeah.
So
lager, I think, is a bit of a funny one, also, isn't it? Because so they are beers that I suppose, going by your beer history, popularized by the Germans and sort of that Bohemian sort of Prague region as well. But again, the kind of smoother, sort of the easier drinking ones, obviously they've almost gotten hold of the recipes in more tropical feeling places. You talk about some of those beers that you have in Thailand and Vietnam. Yeah, the ones you go and drink in sub-Saharan Africa are the sort of lighter, easy drinking ones. But then I suppose some of the beers that maybe morphed out of those, and so actually no, sorry, maybe didn't morph out of them, but there's so many in maybe northwestern Europe. There is a bit of a preference towards those stronger ones with a slightly bolder flavour profile that you just couldn't get your head around in more tropical climates, basically. And I was going to start saying about the Belgian stuff where you have a 2/3 of a pint and it's 6%, because it just wouldn't happen. But then I suppose there's also got to be a bit of a point about the availability of the ingredients. The hops and the malts that they can actually get down in there. And I think was it 1979 when Tusker actually, I think they perfected their own malt. 1987, which I'm not sure. What I found interesting about that, and I would have to go and do a deeper dive into, is I'd like to know whether there was a spike in the popularity after that as well, because I've kind of, obviously it's not a mainstream beer. but you will find occasionally little. It's almost got a bit of a cult following with certain people. I think in the UK, every now and then, I see someone. It's happened a couple of times in larger cities. I've seen people wearing Tusker t-shirts, and I think unless you've had a couple of Tuskers before, which is it not being a mainstream beer, you wouldn't recognise. But I think the fans are out there of it, and they are huge fans of it. Basically, in a roundabout way, driving at.
Can I give you some more Tusker facts?
Yes.
So Tusker have 4 different varieties. They've got Tusker Lager, the one we're consuming. They've got Tusker Malt, Tusker Light, and they have a cider as well.
Oh.
Do you also want to know what the most popular beers consumed in Kenya are?
Well,
do we want to have a guess what number 1 is?
Is that a trick question? Is it Tusker?
It is Tusker.
It is Tusker.
So Tusker Lager is the number 1 consumed beer in Kenya itself. And then you've got Tusker Malt as well. It's
a different kind of Tusker. Is
that? And then it comes what beer?
Guinness.
Well,
Yeah, there you go. So it's 2 Tuskers and a Guinness, like the top.
Because I always thought it was a long established fact for a while that Nigeria were the big Guinness drinkers, but actually there was a lot of Guinness consumption.
Kenya gets a lot of Guinness back. They love their Guinness. And there's also some great beers we might have to look into at some point. One called Summit Lager that's there's a Kenya-owned brewery there. There's Whitecap, which is named after the snow-capped Mount Kenya as well. Pilsner Ice, Senator, Tusker Light also features on this list as well. So, a lot of Tusker products. So anyway, lots of good, this is just interesting. I always love finding out what are people in that country actually consuming. And the fact that Tusker is 3 of their beers are in the top 10, and 1 and 2, 1 and 3, I think they were. Those ones is pretty amazing. But,
I only found limited details on it, but something that has come out of Tusker, or rather Kenya breweries, which I can't think of having come out of any other brewery I've ever heard of.
I'm excited.
I'm trying to stimulate you to kind of guess this, but I don't really think you're going to, right? It's not a piece of merchandise. So they were known as Kenya Breweries until 1999 when they took the Tusker name. There's a football team formed in 1969.
Brilliant.
Kenya Brewery, and one of the most successful Kenyan teams. 13 league titles, 4 East African Cup titles.
Kenyan football team called Tusker or something. That's brilliant. That's so good.
So they started in 1969 called Kenya Breweries, and then in 1999 they took the Tusker FC name.
That's brilliant.
I like that.
That's so good. I mean, hey, if you're backed by the biggest brewery in the country, you're going to be doing pretty well. Aren't you? You've got some good funds there.
Right?
Now,
training sessions were not very well organised, though.
But plenty of liquid to consume.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, so what do we think are the 3? Obviously, we know 1 being Kenya Breweries, but what are the other 2 breweries that make up the East Africa Breweries Limited? Do we think?
I don't know that.
You've already mentioned one of the countries, Barbara.
Tanzania.
Tanzania. So Tanzania's Tanganyika Breweries was one of those that merged with Kenya Breweries to become East African Breweries. And I'll give you another guess of another country.
Is it Ugandan brewery?
Absolutely. It's the Uganda Breweries, which also merged.
How imaginative, wasn't it?
So you've got the Kenya Breweries, Tanzania Brewery, and the Uganda Brewery. All 3 of those merged to become the East Africa Breweries Limited. Back in what year was that? I think you said 1999. Is that right?
Sorry. The football team were called Kenya Breweries until 99. I suppose that would make sense then if
19.
It's probably around the same time the football team did its thing with its name. It's about the sense. So I mean, maybe last words on Tusker, but this is delicious. Really enjoyed this. And I
wonderful,
think
isn't it?
I can only imagine how much better it would also taste in Kenya, maybe on safari, just in the just enjoying this in its where it's meant to be, where
in the Masai
people
Mara with an
love
elephant
it,
walking in the
where people buy it and they
Yeah.
consume it, and it's just so popular. I would love to go and experience
Or you
that.
just sitting there in the evening, all the stars above you at the Sahara. Am I thinking correct? Yeah.
No, you're sub-Saharan. here.
Sub-Saharan.
But in the Masai Mara, like,
Yeah.
it would be...
Just sitting there, looking out, sipping that beer after a hard day's safaring.
With Simba. Like, I'm sure it was Kenya and the Masai Mara that Lion King was set in, wasn't it? I'm fairly confident of that.
Yeah.
We go with fairly confident.
Yeah.
That's good enough for us here.
Yeah.
But yeah, cracker, wasn't it?
Yeah, stonker. Yeah, all the others are going to have to live up now, Barber.
Oh, Joe, we got some... the end of this year, when we do our favourite beers, is getting harder and harder. We've had some belters this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of us has got to say Tusker, basically. So.
And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe, Rich,
Barber,
and Simo,
goodbye. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter, I'll try that podcast.com,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now.